Hi book lovers, and welcome back to a very new video. And I'm so excited to film today's video because I feel like I haven't been filming for quite a while and it's just very hectic right now in my life. I'm about to move and therefore I know that my uploading schedule hasn't been the best since the beginning of the year, but I'm trying my best here, and I don't want to make this video too long because I feel like this is gonna be a bit of a longer video because we're going to talk about a lot of books. I wasn't sure if I should do every single book, so I let you guys vote, and thanks for voting, but it also didn't give me a clear answer. So I decided now to rank all my romance and fantasy reads, which are pretty much almost all my reads. Like, we have almost 100 books that I'm going to rank today, so I hope this will be fun for everyone. This tire ranking video is about like the vibes that I feel now for the books and not about my star rating, because that is a different type of ranking. On the very bottom we have Who Published You. These are books that I honestly don't really understand why they are out in the world. I definitely wouldn't recommend them, and I just honestly think they're bad. Obviously, this is just my opinion, so I don't want anyone to feel offended. Then above that, we have a simple no and read at your own risk. So these are books that weren't really for me, different from the other category where I think I don't see anyone really enjoying that book. Then we have Your Disappointment, and these are books that are not necessarily the worst or really bad. I just expected a lot more from them. Then we have a simple meh, like books that, yeah, maybe I would recommend them. They're not the best, they're not the worst, they're kind of in the middle, just like a meh. And then we have I Forgot That You Existed, to quote Taylor here. Above that we have Great Time While Reading But Not Special. So this is a book where I remember I really enjoyed reading the book, but maybe I don't really think about it now, but I still would recommend these books. Then above that we have favorites, so books that I loved, that were great, that I 100% recommend, and they only get surpassed by Part of My Soul category, because some books are not just favorites. I want them like injected into my veins. I want them to be a part of my identity, and that is a very special category where I will be very picky to put books in. So I'm gonna screen record this and I hope this will all work. So I'm gonna start with Nectar of the Wicked. So this duology I kind of think was meh. I feel like if you want a spicy fantasy, then definitely that one is for you. But to me, it was almost a bit too spicy. Like, it definitely took over the plot and the romance, and I didn't really love it. I enjoyed the first one more than the second one. So maybe the first one I actually put in Great Time While Reading But Not Special, because I did like the first one and I also like the ending of the first one. But then the second one was kind of a disappointment because I did want more. So I'm actually putting this in You're a Disappointment. Now we have a Fake Out by Stephanie Archer, and I think I'm gonna put this one in favorites. I loved the Fake Out. I think the entire series is very fun, but that is by far my favorite, and such a good fake dating hockey romance. 100% recommend. Then we have False God, which I also gonna put in favorites. I love False God. It is such a good and also kind of modern romance. I think it's not too tropey. Maybe I'm gonna put this actually so I can see, yeah, this is better because now I can actually see like also the authors, because I'm super bad with names. But this book is by C.W. Farnsworth, and I think more people should read books by her. I especially love her female characters because they're always quite strong. After that we have What Lies Beyond the Veil, and this whole series is not great, but I'm also hooked that I have to finish the series. It's almost more like a hate read situation, so I would say this is no read at own risk. It's the same thing, that there's a lot of spice, and I think now there are 3 books out and a 4th one coming, and this could have been easily a duology or maybe even 1 book. I don't think we needed that many books, so let me put the other books in here as well. Well, actually I'm gonna put the What Lies Beyond the Veil in Your Disappointment because I had a very high expectations. I don't think it was all bad, but the other ones definitely no read at your own risk. Where are the other ones though? Then we have Behind the Net by Stephanie Archer. I don't know if it's I Forgot That You Existed or Great Time, but I don't know. I never think about this book. It's not that I forgot about it. Maybe meh, I think I'm gonna put it at meh. I just didn't really like the characters, but this is also more of a case where this book wasn't really for me, but I see why other people enjoy it a lot more. Ooh, then we have Velvet Shadows, and this one I feel so bad to say, but I'm sorry, I have to put it in Who Published You. It was one of the worst books I've read, and I really didn't like the writing. After that we have Birthday Girl, and I think Birthday Girl for me was a disappointment. I kind of wanted this to wow me a little bit more. I was already a bit worried to go into it because it's not something I would usually pick up, but so many people love this that I definitely wanted to give it a shot. Then we have The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare, and I think this is gonna go in great times while reading, but not special. I really enjoyed this. This is my only historical romance that I read last year, and it was really good. I think this is like Marriage of Convenience, and I liked it, but I don't really think about it. It was good. I would recommend. Then we have A Kiss of the Selkie. I think I'm gonna put it in great time while reading, but not special. This is great if you want a fantasy standalone, and this also kind of has a little bit of like Marriage of Convenience or even like The Bachelor vibes, but it's YA and obviously fantasy, and I think it's a retelling of some kind of fairy tale. I forgot. The next one is God of Fury. God of Fury, oh my god, let's do the entire Legacy of Gods series. Oh my god. Where are the other ones? God of War, God of Pain is the second one. I think God of Ruin is the third one. Then we have one more, God of Wrath. Where are you? Okay. Alright, let's do the whole series. These are all dark romances, and they're very unhinged. I had such a blast with this series, but they're not all amazing. The first one I would put in great time while reading, but not special. Like, this was a great introduction. Like, you know what you're getting into with the first 2 chapters. I think that's great. The second one, didn't really love. So, would I put it in Your Disappointment? I think so, because the first half of the book I actually enjoyed, but I don't know what happened with the second half. I think the third one is actually God of Wrath. That one, loved so much. This is gonna go in favorites. This was unexpected, but so good. God of Ruin, same as God of Pain, and I think I'm gonna put it in meh. God of Fury, immediately going into part of my soul. I did not expect one of those books to ever surpass a 4-star rating because I'm not really a huge dark romance girly, but this book is incredible and I still think about them. I think it's one of the best love stories ever. I cried so much reading this book and it's just amazing. Definitely part of my soul. Like, this book changed me. And then we have God of War, immediately going into Your Disappointment, because God of War is actually why I also binged this series, because since this couple was mentioned in the first book, I was immediately hooked, and then I found out that theirs is also kind of like a forced marriage. So I for sure thought that this would be my favorite book out of the entire series. And it was like in the middle. It was, I think, like maybe a 3-star read. Especially being this the last book in the series was just so disappointing. So yeah, that is the entire Legacy of God series. Next up we have Emily Henry, Funny Story. And this is my favorite Emily Henry book, guys. This is going into part of my soul. I still think about this couple, this story so often. It's definitely a book that I want to reread this year, and I also want to annotate it. I absolutely love Funny Story, so don't even have to think about it. Part of my soul. Next up we have Better Than the Movies, and I think this is either going into Your Disappointment or meh. But maybe I'm gonna put it at meh because I didn't have the highest expectations, because I've read Lynn Painter's books before and they weren't really great. Like, I don't think Lynn Painter is necessarily for me. I also don't love YA, so I didn't have high expectations going into this book. Why I thought I would enjoy it is that so many others really raved about Better Than the Movies. It was okay, but I don't really understand why everyone loves this book, especially since I think the main character was just so unlikable. Next up we have My Dark Desire, and I'm gonna put that in I Forgot That You Existed. I don't ever think about this book. I don't even know if I would recommend it. Like, maybe if you want a dark romance that is not too dark and it kind of has an interesting plot. I think it's a bit Cinderella-esque, but I couldn't tell you much because I Forgot That You Existed. Next up we have Wildfire, and Wildfire I'm gonna put in favorite. I think the whole series is just amazing, so yeah, definitely one of my favorites. Next up we have Guild, and immediately who published you, because this is not good. At least make the characters 18 or above for the things that happened in there, and it also made me uncomfortable. I don't really want to talk about this book anymore. I think this should have definitely gotten edited a lot more than the book has potential. Next up we have Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, and this one I think I'm gonna put into favorites. It is so good. I absolutely love Just for the Summer. I love Abby Jimenez. I kind of wanted a bit more romance in the book, and even though I loved it, I cried so much. Like, it is one of the best books I've read this year. It's not quite part of my soul tier, but it's definitely one of my favorites. The rulebook is going into meh. This is a second chance romance, and I don't think that they had a great base to really rekindle that kind of love. The Wingman by Stephanie Archer I would also put into meh. Definitely had a bit more potential. This is Friends to Lovers, which is not my favorite trope, so maybe it also had to do with this, but this kind of was a bit too sweet for me. Like, I didn't really vibe with either of the characters. I didn't really care for them, so yeah. Next up we have Striker, and yep, you're a disappointment. Anna Huang, what are you doing to me? Because this year, her categories, and I can actually also put King of Cloth in here because that one also was such a huge disappointment. I don't even know which one disappointed me more, because I was so excited for both these releases. I was so hyped, and they were just mainly boring, which is very sad because I actually really like Anna Huang's writing and I loved her other books, but this year was definitely not her year, and I'm interested to see how it will turn out this year. Next up I have A Touch of Darkness, and I think I'm going to put this into great time while reading but not special. I really like this. This is Hades and Persephone retelling, also a great introduction to the series. I also read this second one. Maybe let's put this one, I think, in the same category actually, because I did enjoy these two books and I think they're very fast-paced. They're super easy to read, but I don't really think about them too often. They're not my favorites, but I would definitely recommend them. Next up we have The Goal, and I'm gonna put this into meh. A disappointment, because I definitely love the other books in Elle Kennedy's, what is it called? The Off-Campus series more, but I didn't expect a lot from this book because this is also accidental pregnancy. I don't really love that trope, so I kind of went into the book knowing that this might not be a favorite, and yeah, definitely just meh for me. Heartless Hunter though, I am going to put into part of my soul. I freaking love this book. I think it is so good, especially the enemies to lovers part. For me, one of the best, because there are enemies on so many levels and there are just so many reasons why they shouldn't fall in love, and they really have to fight it, and they both have reasons to deceive the other person, and I just ate this one up. Next up we have Make the Season Bright by Ashley Herring Blake, and I'm going to put this into favorites. I think not enough people are talking about this. This was the best Christmas romance I've ever read. I enjoyed this book so much, and I think the reason why I liked it so much is that these characters are very flawed, and I like flawed characters. I think it really shows that you can make mistakes and those mistakes have consequences. Then we have Not the Man I Thought He Was, and I'm gonna put this as no, read at your own risk. First of all, this is published as a romance, and it's simply not a romance. Like, this is some kind of woman's fiction, and the romance that does happen in here is so bad, but this is bad in like a laughable way. Like, I just couldn't believe that this was the plot. It is so ridiculous, and yeah, definitely a no and a skip for me, but if you want to read it, read at your own risk. After that we have A River Enchanted, And I think I'm going to put this into a great time while reading, but to me it's not special. Then we have On Cloud 9. I'm actually going to put it in no read at your own risk, because I don't think that I would necessarily recommend this book, to be honest. Next we have A Game of Fate, which is part of like the Hades and Persephone retelling, and this is basically the series out of Hades' perspective. I think personally that it's not necessary. However, the series does follow also other plot lines, and I want to read it like for you guys to see if it's actually necessary to read those books to understand the other series. So that's why I'm reading them, but I don't love them, and I would put them at meh. It's not the worst, it's just that you read a lot of the same scenes that you've already read in Persephone's POV, and I just don't think we need every scene also in Hades' POV. And then on top also obviously the other storylines, it's just unnecessary for me. Next up we have Only When It's Us by Chloe Lees. I don't know, I would probably put it also in meh. I didn't really care for this one, to be honest. I could also easily forget about this. Maybe if I would have read it at another time, I would have enjoyed it more. Or maybe it was also the audiobook. I just didn't really care for this, but I could easily see other people enjoying it, and I wouldn't like tell you to stay away from this book. It was just not really my favorite or for me. Alright, next up we have The Invisible Life of Eddie LaRue, and I would put this in favorites. I love this story so much. I kind of expected it almost to be part of my soul, but I didn't love the ending, and that's really a me problem. I think the ending itself is beautiful, and I read this for my book club and it was great for discussions, but as like a romance girly, didn't love the ending, so I can't quite put it in part of my soul, but I absolutely love this book. It is so beautiful. Also the writing so beautiful. It is a bit slower, but I think it's definitely worth your time. Next up we have Flow, and I would put Flow in great time while reading, but not special. This is the prequel and just a novella to the actual Grip trilogy, so you do get like the first encounter and kind of like what happens, and I assume based on that one that we're gonna have like a second chance love story, but this one didn't, since it's just a novella, didn't give me too much to say it's my favorite or even part of my soul, but I kind of can see that happening with the rest of the series because I did enjoy it. Next up we have My December Darling, which is also a novella but a much longer one, and a Christmas novella, and I think I would put this also in great time while reading but not special. Like, I enjoyed this. I love Lauren Asher. She's one of my favorite authors. I think this is a really great romance to read during Christmas. Powerless by Elsie Silver. I don't know if it's a great time while reading but not special or meh. Let's put it a great time while reading but not special. I haven't really thought about it since it's a romance between a hockey player and a ballerina, and it's friends to lovers or even childhood friends to lovers. I didn't really love it. Some people absolutely love this. I enjoyed the other one. Let's see where that one is. Heartless by Elsie Silver, much more. This was so good. Absolutely loved Heartless. And I'm thinking, is this maybe even God tier? Is this part of my soul? Because this was so good. And I am unsure. I'm unsure, guys. I think I'm gonna put it at favorites, because I loved it so much, but I don't think it's quite part of my soul. Next time we have Ruthless Vows, and I'm also gonna talk about Divine Rivals. So Divine Rivals, if I'm honest, I think I'm going to put this into great time while reading but not special. I think when I first read it, I kind of hyped myself up a little because everyone seemed to really love it, and I had very high expectations, and I did enjoy Divine Rivals. Like, I really liked it, but if I'm honest, I never really think about this book. Maybe it was also a bit too YA, I don't know. It is very beautifully written, but it's definitely not God tier. I kind of feel better putting it into this category. And I think the same with Ruthless Vows. I did enjoy Divine Rivals more than Ruthless Vows, but I also definitely wasn't disappointed with the second book. I think a lot of people expected more, maybe also more from the romance point of view, but I really liked it, and I liked this duology together. Let's continue with Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. And this one, is a meh. I know going into Tessa Bailey's books that they're gonna be spicy and I'm gonna read them for the spice, and I think she does a really good job connecting the characters with the spice, and that's why I enjoy her book so much. Then we have When in Rome, which goes into great time while reading but not special, and I didn't expect much out of this book because this was also when I gave authors a second chance, and I didn't really love any of the other books I read by Sarah Adams before that. But this series changed my mind about Sarah Adams, and I enjoyed this. It wasn't like the best thing I've ever read. It's very wholesome and cute, and I continued with the series, and let me see where the second one is. Practice Makes Perfect, and I'm actually going to put Practice Makes Perfect into favorites because I enjoyed this one so much. I think it was such a great pairing. I loved these characters. I loved how they supported each other, how they helped each other, and I felt a lot for both characters. And yeah, this is such a great opposites attract romance. And then we have a novel love story. And I'm gonna put this actually at meh. While I'm not saying you shouldn't read it, it's not that I had like the best time reading it and it really excited me. Next up we have Emily Wilde's Map of the Everlands. And while I'm ranking this, let's also put the first one up here. So Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. That one I would put actually the first one into meh. This was okay. I wasn't mad about it. I think I didn't really grasp the whole concept of cozy fantasy. Like I didn't really appreciate the genre. However, when I read the second one, and maybe this was also a timing thing because I read that during autumn and it was just like the perfect setting. Absolutely loved the second one. I think I would put it into great time while reading but not special because it's not like one of my absolute favorites, but I appreciated just the story and the characters so much more. I really liked the second book. Then we have the Bridge Kingdom duology. These books were really good while reading them, so I'm going to put them into that category. I think they're a great duology. Also, these two follow the same couple and then you continue with the series, but you follow different couples in that universe. And I think that's also a great concept because you don't immediately have to, you know, commit yourself to a very long fantasy series. I think also this had a great balance of romance and plot. Oh, then we have another Kiss of the Silky. Great, let's put this away because we already ranked that. And then we have Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. And this one, guys, this one is God tier. This one is part of my soul. Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez is one of the best romances out there. I don't know what she's doing with her romances because also just for the summer, even though it's not part of my soul category, it is so incredible. And Bree and Jacob, they just like they stole something from my heart. Like they made a little house in my heart, and I'm so happy with them renting that part or even buying it and owning it forever. Next up we have Reckless, and I think I'm gonna put Reckless into great time while reading but not special. I wasn't as disappointed as a lot of other people's were with the second one. I really enjoyed it. Obviously I understand where the critique comes from, that this does feel like a breather book and not a lot happens. And I think where I agree the most is that a lot of like side stories that were started in the first book, or even also the novella that comes in between Powerless and Reckless, like all these kind of little plot lines weren't really included in this book, and I don't really get when you have a whole trilogy how you basically skip over them in the second book. And while saying that, let's also rank Powerless and Powerful. So Powerless is up in my favorites. Absolutely love Powerless. It is so good, and not gonna lie, I'm also going to put Powerful in my favorites. It's just a novella, but I think it was so great. It's definitely something we don't see a lot in fantasy, like talking about the main character, because she's much more softer and not, you know, like the main character that usually goes into trials and fights. And I loved Adina so much. So Powerful is definitely a favorite, and I'm thinking about putting Powerless into part of my soul. If it lived in my soul before, reckless, put it out of my soul. So for now, it's gonna be a favorite. Then we have Not in Love by Ellie Hazelwood, and I'm going to put this into great time while reading it. I really like what Ellie Hazelwood did with this book. I think she took a risk, and for me it worked. It wasn't my favorite by her and it was very different, but I like that Ellie Hazelwood tries different things within, you know, her sort of settings and worlds, and yeah, I like this one. Then we have Caught Up by Liz Tomfordy, and I think I'm going to put this into great time while reading, because I never really think about, I don't know, like I think about this series constantly, but I don't really think about this couple in particular. That's why I think I put it into this category, and I feel good about that. Play along though, let's talk about this book next. I'm going to put into favorites. Absolutely love this book, and I honestly think if I would have read it maybe at a different time, it would have been even part of my soul, because this is definitely a book that has all the tropes that I love. I love the series. I love the fun family in the series the most. It's an amazing adult professional sports romance series where you also see different sports. You have a hockey romance, you have a basketball romance, and these two are baseball romances. They're absolutely amazing. It's just that I'm very picky about the books that become part of my soul, because, you know, there's only that much space left in my soul. Next up we have Love Unwritten, and I love Love Unwritten so much. However, I have to be honest, and I think I'm going to put it in great time while reading, but not special, because I just don't think about this very often. However, I remember when I read this and I was so moved by the story. I really love how much care Lauren Asher brings to her characters. They're so fleshed out, they're very three-dimensional, they have so many layers, and I cried a lot also reading this, and it's a great love story, but I also don't think too often about this. Then we have another Make the Season Bright. We already ranked, so just forget about that. Okay, next up we have Barbarian Lovers, and let's just put the whole Ice Planet book series here. I have one more. Oh, it's right there. So this series I actually read because Lauren Asher, being one of my favorite authors, actually said that she really enjoyed these books. So I, as a devoted Lauren Asher fan, wanted to read them myself, and I'm going to put this into great time while reading, but not special. I think this was such a fun time. Definitely something different. I mean, you have aliens and they're very smutty, but if you want something like that, like if you're looking for just a very quick escape into some surreal world and spicy times, then this is for you. And the other ones, I think I'm just gonna put into this category as well, because I feel the same way about them. Like, they're a fun time when I read them, but afterwards I never really think about them. Next up we have A Court of Mist and Fury. And is anyone wondering where I'm gonna put this? Obviously, they're not a disappointment. They were a great time while reading this, but they were very, very special, and they're 100% part of my soul. Like, this book was already part of my soul before I even read it. I absolutely love this book series, ACOTAR, and this is the only book that I read from this series last year. And you might wonder, when I love this book series so much, why I haven't read the rest of the books yet. And that is really because I am just so scared of finishing these books, and I really take my time to read them, and I'm like, the anticipation for reading these books are so high, and I also enjoy that. These books won't disappoint me, and it just kind of like a guaranteed 5-star read, and I'm very excited to continue with the series. But yeah, this was such an easy one, part of my soul. Next up we have Beach Read, and I think I'm going to put Beach Read into great time while reading or favorites. I do think it deserves favorites. I think Beach Read is a book that at some point I will read again, and then I might appreciate it a little bit more. I had very high expectations for Beach Read, and it wasn't quite a 5-star read, but I expected more romance maybe, and even though this was still amazing, it didn't quite get me as, for example, Funny Story. Then we have Believe Me, and I'm going to put the other Shetami series books that I've read last year here as well. I read the rest of the series the year prior, and I definitely loved Defy Me so much. And I don't think that Shetami in general is really part of my soul, even though it is an amazing series. I loved it so much. Maybe if I read it when I was younger, it would have been part of my soul, but for now I think Defy Me, which is my favorite book that I read this year from the series, like Defy Me and the third one, I don't know what, Unravel Me? No. The third book, they are my favorites. So Defy Me is going to be favorites, whereas Imagine Me and Believe Me, which Believe Me is the novella, is going into Great Time While Reading, but not special. I can't do that. No, because it was still special. No, I'm going to put this into favorites. That did not sound right, because they were very much special to me. I mean, this is the end for the entire series. Then we have Bride by Ellie Hazelwood, and I enjoyed this so much more than I thought I would, because I just didn't really know what to expect when Ellie Hazelwood announced that she has like a werewolf vampire romance coming up. And I think this is going into favorites. It's not really part of my soul, even though this is a 5-star read, but it's not that, you know, it is injected into my veins and I think about it every day. Next up we have Checkmate, also by Ellie Hazelwood, but I'm also going to put this one into favorites. I absolutely ate this one up, and this is YA, but kind of something between YA and new adult romance, I would say, and I didn't even plan on picking this one up. And I'm so glad my boyfriend actually gave this to me because he likes chess, and I'm super happy that I did read it because this is also one of my favorites. Then we have Cross the Line by Simone Soltani, and I think I'm going to put this one into I Forgot That You Existed. It's not that I like forgot about the plot and everything, but I never think about this book, like never. So we have the first Daisy Hates book, then the second one, Daisy Hates The Great Undoing. And in between these two, actually, you would read Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home. I read the first Magnolia Parks the year prior, so that's why it's not in here. But I freaking love the series. Easily, all of them. Even though the Daisy Hates books I like less than the Magnolia Parks book. So compared to them, I didn't give them all a 5-star rating. However, they are all going into part of my soul category. Like, you have no idea how much I think about these characters, and to me they are all real people. Like, I can't believe that they are fictional. What I felt while reading these books about not existing people, about not existing things that happened, and I felt so much anger or frustration or sadness or happiness. Like, it is insane. I don't think that any other book evokes so many emotions than the Magnolia Park series, and they 100% deserve the spot in part of my soul category. Freaking love the series. Then we have Daydream by Hannah Grace, and I'm going to put this into Great Time While Reading, but not special. I personally didn't love this book, but I did enjoy my time reading this. I think if you're like either the main characters, then you feel very deeply connected with this book, and I think that these characters are very unique. Like, I haven't really read a lot of their dynamics before. Why do I have so many doubles? Yeah. Then we have In a Jam by Kate Canterbury. And where should I put this? Because I think I'm going to put this into Your Disappointment. I actually DNF'd this book, so I can't really talk about the whole book. Not that this is a bad book, I just didn't care. Then we have Fortuna Sworn. I only read the first book, but after the first book I was so confused that I kind of read what would happen in the series, because I didn't even know if I would continue with it or not. And after reading what would happen, I'm kind of thinking about putting this one into Who Published You, just because this is so wild and so confusing, but it's not like super bad, so I don't think I should really put it in here. I think I'm gonna put it into no, read at own risk. Like, it's not that the first book is really bad, I think just what you're getting yourself into plot-wise, especially with the romances, like, to me this is just too much, and also it was kind of confusing, the plot, and why, for example, this was set in the modern world just for the main character then kind of go into an area of the world where it is basically not the modern world anymore. Like, it just didn't really make sense. Next up I have From Paris with Love This Christmas. What a title. And can I also tell you guys that the title has basically almost nothing to do with the plot, because this book is not set in Paris. Like, our main character comes from Paris, but the book plays in England. So very confusing title, and I really didn't love the cover. And yes, I do judge books by its covers. I'm sorry. I expected this book to be very bad. However, this was such a great time while reading. I love this book so much. I would say it does have a bit of flaws, otherwise I would actually consider putting this into favorites. I think that this book is not going to be a favorite for everyone, but I really enjoyed our main character. It's definitely more of a main character that we don't see a lot, and she's probably usually more of the side character in other books, but I loved it, so definitely a great time. Next up we have Kiss Her Once for Me, and this is going into I Forgot That You Existed, because I literally forgot until I found this book and I was like, oh right, I read this. Then we have Lavish at First Sight, and I don't know, this one is either just meh or a great time while reading. But if I have a look at this was a good book, but it was also not like a fantastic read. Yeah, it was okay. I would recommend, especially since it has like a very unique setting, I think. I love the Armenian background, but the love story itself was just meh. Then we have Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher, and I think I'm going to put this one into favorites because I did enjoy Love Redesigned more than Love Unwritten, and I just love Lauren Asher's writing so much, and it is definitely one of like the lesser favorites maybe from this list, but I don't know. I just love the characters. I love like the new setting. It is not my favorite series by Lauren Asher, and I'm very excited for the third book. I think the third book in this series will be my absolute favorite. Oh my god, Love Game immediately. Who published you? I'm sorry, but Love Game, one of the worst books I read last year, and I feel like I already told you quite a lot about my hate, but this is just a book about bad people that started an affair and then victimized themselves. They have no other reason to really fall for each other except that they find each other attractive. And how is that a good reason to start an affair? Just not. No. So bad. Then we have Pretty Scandalous, and I'm going to put this one into great time while reading. This one is actually, I think, my only German book that I read last year, and it was really fun. It's definitely not just a romance. I especially loved the ending. Like, it was so crazy. It definitely gave like Gossip Girl and kind of Pretty Little Liar vibes. Like, a very good book. Then we have Sinner's Isle. I don't know where to put this one. Like, this is a DNF, so I didn't like even finish it, and I don't know if I should put it at meh because, or You're a Disappointment. Oh no, like, this one wasn't bad or anything. It is just, honestly, you know what? I'm actually gonna put it in I Forgot That You Existed. I think I read like 100 pages of this book. I already scraped this from my memory. Then we have The Takedown, and I kind of feel like this is also a book that I kind of forgot about. And I don't know if I was just like in a December haze. There was so much happening in December. I feel like I kind of read and immediately forgot about those books because I needed brain space for other things. Then we have The Blonde Identity by Ellie Carter. I feel like it is somewhere between meh, I Forgot That You Existed, and great time while reading, but not special. Maybe I'm going to put it into meh. Like, this was okay. It's like a mid book. I think it's a bit silly. It was a quick read, but also not like the best time while reading. It was enjoyable enough. Let's leave it at that. Then we have The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling, and this one, I feel like this one is difficult for me to rate because it kind of was a great time while reading, but that didn't really have to do with the book. It's more that I'm a mood reader, and for like Halloween in October, I love to read a witchy book because of the time, and I almost don't really care what witchy book it is. I just want like the vibes of it, and therefore I don't expect like a great read, and this one definitely wasn't like amazing, but it was a good time reading it because that's the vibes that I wanted, but it wasn't really about the book. Then we have The 7 Years Slip by Ashley Poston, and this is going into favorites. Kind of thinking about putting this into part of my soul because I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this book is so amazing, but I don't know. I think I'm going to leave it at favorites. Like, I love this so much, but I don't think it's quite part of my soul. Next up we have Wild Love by A.S.C. Silver, and I am going to put this into your disappointment. I really didn't like this book. I would almost put it into no, read it at own risk, but I do know that a lot of other people absolutely love this book and this series, so I feel like this is more just a me thing. Okay, we have like the last books here, actually just the last 2, because I think these other ones, the last 3, they're repeats. No, actually we just have 1 book left because Love Unwritten also repeats. So we have You Again by Kate Goldbeck, and I'm going to put this book into favorites. I love this book so much. I think was such a good like modern romance. I think that is the best way to describe it. It definitely had flawed character and therefore also kind of unlikable characters, and I see why other people wouldn't like it, but again, that's the sort of thing that I enjoy in books. So for me, 100% favorite, and I think that is all the books. There might be books that I forgot, guys. I'm unsure now. Let's put this into like square so you can see all of this better. Yeah. These are all the romances and fantasies that I read last year and how I would rank them now. I didn't include some of the novellas that I read just because I don't really rate novellas. And yeah, I have, how many books do I have in my part of my soul category? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 books. I think that is not too bad. I feel so good about the books that are part of my soul. Like 100%, they take so much brain space. Also my favorites, I'm absolutely happy with them. Love them so much. The majority is actually in like the first 3 categories, which is amazing because these are all books that I enjoyed very much. I feel very good with this ranking. I don't think I would change anything. However, I hope that you enjoyed my rankings. Let me know if you agree with any of these books, and other than that, give this video a like and also subscribe for more bookish content, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!